Ms. De La Cruz, you were charged with the offense of driving while intoxicated with a blood alcohol content of 0.15 or higher. It appears that you and your attorney, Mr. Saldana, have made an agreement. You reached an agreement with the state. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. It's a plea bargain. Before we do that, I need to inform you of your rights. You've heard me talk to other people, and now I address this to you. You have the right to remain silent. That means you don't have to make any kind of statement. You don't have to answer questions. You don't have to submit written paperwork that has your signature, especially papers that admit or confess to wrongdoing. You have the right to a jury trial. That means that you and your attorney, with participation of the state, would select 6 jurors, 6 people from a pool of disinterested citizens who would hear all of the evidence, everything that's presented, and those 6 people would decide whether whether you're not guilty or whether you have been proven guilty beyond reasonable doubt. If you decide to go to trial, you would have the right to confront any witnesses. If you went to trial, the state would have to try and prove you guilty by using witnesses, and you and your attorney would have the right to question, cross-examine, or challenge any witness that would testify. You also have the right to appeal. This is something of a tricky or a complex right. You and your attorney, or each of you individually, could demand that a higher court review the official record in this proceeding and the evidence and decide whatever legal challenge you wanted to make. That right is difficult because you have time limitations and you have requirements of form and substance of the paperwork that you have to use. Nonetheless, it is an important right, and I want you to know you have it. You also have the right to demand that this proceeding be held in the open public courtroom. Because of the COVID pandemic, we're not doing that. What we are doing is video conferencing, as you can see through your computer, through your phone, or whatever you're using. Do you understand these rights that I have explained to you verbally?
Yes.
All right. Now, do you have any questions about those rights at this time?
No.
All right. Now, the charge against you is a charge that it has all kinds of questions and problems involved, but to handle this, we've done paperwork. You have had the opportunity to review with your attorney the paperwork, in this case, the documents, and you have signed them. Did you review and sign the documents that are in this proceeding?
Yes.
The documents that have your signature, did you have the advice and the guidance of your attorney?
Yes.
All right. Now, the first document we've talked about already, you've given consent to video conference this hearing. Is that correct?
What was that again, Judge? I'm sorry.
You have agreed and given consent that we should do this by video conference.
Yes.
By the way, the state has that right also. So they have that obligation to say yes or no on the consent. They have. You have a document that is titled Defendant's Waiver of Constitutional Rights and Court's Admonitions. That document has a lot of information and material, including it reminds you and asks you to acknowledge that all these rights and protections that I have discussed with you are in writing and have been explained to you. Is that correct?
Yes.
That same document, by the way, all these documents identify you by name, case number, and court number. These documents, all of them, are important and have your signature. This one particular one tells you that the deal that you made with the state is not binding on me as a judge. I have the obligation and the authority to say yes or no. I have to decide one way or the other. If I say no, or if I give you a punishment that's greater than what you agreed to, the law would allow you to start all over again, and nothing that you've said or signed up till now would be used against you. Is that clear, ma'am?
Yes.
Now, a document that you've also reviewed and signed is one that I prepared. It's called the Trial Court's Certification of Defendant's Right of Appeal. In there, I tell you that you have made a plea bargain, and as part of that plea deal, you give up your right to appeal. Did you know and understand that?
Yes.
You have also applied for some form of probation. I suspect state and defense, what is it going to be?
Deferred, Your Honor.
All right. So, state, what is the motion, if any?
Your Honor, the state moves to waive the extreme intoxication enhancement and proceed on a DWI first.
Mr. Saldana?
No objection, Your Honor.
There being no objection, the court grants that motion. Ms.
De la
Ms. De La
Cruz.
Cruz, Ms. De La Cruz.
Yes, Your Honor.
You understand that you're no longer charged with extreme intoxication, the 0.15 or higher, you're now charged with DWI first, or also known as misdemeanor B. Do you understand that?
Yes.
All right. You have applied for deferred adjudication probation. Did you read and understand what that is?
Yes.
Just to remind you, ma'am, you will be entering a plea, probably no contest or some form of plea that is sufficient for me to find you guilty, but I will not find you guilty. I'll be putting you on deferred adjudication. As long as you live up to 100% of the conditions of supervision, then the case will be dismissed outright. If you fail or refuse to live up to the conditions 100%, then the state may ask me to give you notice, bring you in for a hearing, and if in my opinion, based on the evidence, there's sufficient evidence for me to find you guilty and convict you, that conviction stays with you the rest of your life. In addition, you'd be looking at 100% of the punishment range, which in this case is a fine from $0 to $2,000 and jail from 72 hours continuous to 180 days. You understand that?
Yes.
All right. Ms. De La Cruz, how do you make a living?
I'm working, sir. I work at a meat market. And I also have 2 boys that I'm raising right now. I'm a single parent.
How old are the boys?
One is 16, the other one's 17.
Okay. Do you get child support for either one?
No, I do get SSI for one.
Why don't you get child support?
Because the SSI takes over the child support. So they don't allow me to get child support because their dad is disabled.
All right. Then to the charge of DWI first, how do you plead, ma'am?
No contest, Your Honor.
Ms. De La Cruz,
Yes, sir.
all of a sudden your voice went real deep.
Oh, I thought you were talking to my lawyer.
No, I was talking to you, ma'am. So you plead no contest, ma'am?
Yes.
Ms. De La Cruz?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Be aware that a no contest plea is considered a guilty plea in this court. And as such, it is sufficient for me to find you guilty. You understand that?
Yes.
Did anyone threaten you, intimidate you, or promise you anything other than the plea bargain in exchange for your plea of no contest?
No.
I find there's sufficient evidence to find you guilty, including your own plea, but I do not find you guilty. Instead, I am granting you deferred adjudication. State, recite for us the agreement.
Yes, Your Honor, the agreement is for 12 months deferred adjudication, $500 fine plus court costs, 48 hours community service, restitution to DPS of $60, Crime Stoppers fee of $50, DWI education, Victim Impact Panel Live, TAP evaluation, and ignition interlock for 6 months.
Okay, now you said you work at a meat market. What do you earn, ma'am?
Here I earned $10 an hour, sir.
So it's 400 a week, 1,700 a month.
Mhm.
All right. I find there's sufficient evidence to find you guilty, including your own plea, but I do not. You're granted 12 months deferred adjudication. You're fined $500, but I probate $250 of that.
Thank you.
That means that if you do everything you're supposed to, you'll only pay $250, not $500.
Okay.
You will perform 48 hours community service restitution. Pardon me. You will not pay DPS. I find that you're indigent. The Crime Stoppers fee, I forego that too. You will do the DWI education program. You will do the Victim Impact Panel live. You'll submit to a TAP evaluation, and the recommendations will be subject to my approval. You will have ignition interlock for 6 months continuously. You're not to drive any vehicle other than your own with ignition interlock equipment in it. Do you understand?
Yes.
Your supervisory fee will be the minimum under law, which is $25. Now, I have significantly lowered the financial cost to you. That's not to reward you because you don't deserve it, but because you have children to take care of, you're on SSI. I don't think we have to add terribly to your burden. I hope you understand that my being merciful is not in any way approving of what you did. People that get out there and get drunk and drive, they kill people. The people that could be killed are your own sons. You could be the one that did it. Don't drink and drive, ma'am. Do you hear what I'm saying?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. You have to come in within 7 days and have your thumbprint put on the documents as required by law. Don't leave this hearing until you've met with Ms. Maricela Luna. She's going to put you on the probation program. All
I
right.
just wanted to say thank you very much for listening to the evidence and thank you for your consideration as to her financial situation.